So the official story now is that a 30-06 round hit Charlie Kirk in the neck and there's no exit wound. There is only one way that that is possible. One, not two, one. And it definitely is not a miracle or Charlie Kirk's bones being so dense that it stopped a 30-06. That's not a thing, okay? There's one way that that's possible, and this is what it is. So watching Kash Patel manage this situation with Charlie Kirk has been fascinating to me, as well as very educational, as it relates to why these deep state people, and I'm not necessarily, I realize he's in a role that would have been considered deep state previously, but I'm talking more like the deep state guys, James Comey and Chris Wray and these guys. Now I understand why they were so cagey about sharing information when it came to these public investigations. You always felt like they were doing something nefarious. And I'm starting to figure out exactly why they did that. And Kash obviously, became the director of the FBI less than a year ago. And he's had some very, very public, leadership challenges from the community because he got thrown the thermonuclear hot potato of all time in Jeffrey Epstein. He comes in, he's like, yeah, I'm just one of you guys. I've shared some thoughts about what I think about Epstein, and then it gets into the role, and then whatever happens when you get on the other side and into one of these top government agency positions, and they read you in on whatever is going on with Epstein, and it's like now you have to pretend like you don't know anything about this. Okay, now you have to go out there and just basically say there's no evidence of any kind of trafficking, and we're going to need you to do that every time you're asked about it, to the point where you're going to look like you are absolutely stone-faced lying or retarded or both. Like, that's a tough position to be put in. I can promise you it's not his choice, But when it comes to this stuff, the Charlie Kirk investigation and where we're at on it, he has definitely made some choices that are blowing up on him now. People think that the FBI is either involved or are like making things up or they're incompetent. And honestly, I just think that what I'm learning is that the less information you share, the less stuff can blow up in your face. It's actually common sense. And it always drove me crazy, but it's common sense. If you don't say anything and you imply that the FBI knows things that they are choosing not to share, then the public's like, they assume that the FBI is this highly competent, elite group of geniuses with all these tools you can't even imagine that they have. And, listen, we're just choosing to withhold this information from you because that's just what we're choosing to do. And that's how people interpret it. Kash Patel has been going the opposite direction. And that's why I'm actually defending him. I want to be clear about that. I'm defending him because he is trying desperately to do what the people have asked from him, which is radical transparency. Okay. And the problem with that is that when you have radical transparency, you're going to put stuff out there that ends up inaccurate. Right? Like you have tips coming in all the time. You got, this clue sounds here. This one over here. This guy said this. This guy said this. Like, explain to me why the fucking governor of Utah said into a microphone in front of the world that he believes the transgender roommate, that he didn't know anything about what was going on. Okay. It's absurd. What are you talking about? You're not in a position to say that, I got no beef with the Utah governor, but it's cute that you are swayed by the meek and kind of intentionally frail, portrayal of themselves that this guy put on. He's like, I just didn't know anything. I'm just a little guy trying to turn into a little girl. Is that so much? Okay. I don't have any violence in my heart. It's like, yeah, but you helped plan a murder, right? You helped plan a murder, didn't you? No. Are you sure about that? You fucking sure about that, kid? Okay, I got nothing else to do here. We could sit here and do this all day. Tell me the story again. Walk me through the story about how Tyler wrote you a note that said, hey, just so you know, I'm the one who did it. Now burn this message. Then within 1 second of their move over to text conversation, he's like, I was planning on keeping this secret until I died of old age. You're all, really? Because you wrote a note and hid it under the keyboard. That doesn't indicate that you plan to keep this secret, okay? What this indicates is that you are fabricating this in order to exonerate your dumb little twink lover, okay? That's what that looks like to me, right? This whole story of the hidden note reeks of, yeah, right, okay? You're not going to convince me that kid didn't know about it, right? But let's also just talk about what Kash is putting out there now, because I probably just give like a 5-minute intro for no reason. I'm in the mood to talk, man. So listen to the update. And I got a lot of stuff to go through with you guys here. So buckle in. This is like part 1 of like 8 things. So as director of the FBI, I'm committed to ensuring the investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination is thorough and exhaustive, pursuing every lead to its conclusion. The full weight of America's law enforcement agencies are actively following the evidence that has emerged, but our efforts extend beyond initial findings. We are examining every facet of the assassination. I cannot stress this part enough. That's what I want to hear. Okay, that, and then the next part that we're going to go over here, from this article here, that Tyler Robinson had a network of people around him. Okay, and this one has Dan Bongino also, and they have confirmed in both of these kind of public outreaches that they are going to get everyone. Anyone who was involved in this, anyone who knew anything, anyone who was in a Discord group and had foreknowledge, they're coming for everyone. That's all I want to hear. That's it. Okay? That's it. As long as that's the case, we're going to be good. Now, there's a lot more to talk about here, but that's the big low-hanging fruit that had my hair standing on end when I heard Redacted say that they were about to wrap the case up and just be like, yeah, we got him, lone shooter. I'm like, lone shooter? You know what I mean? No one is going to convince me that this is not a conspiracy, okay? And I'm not talking like a state actor level conspiracy. I'm talking a bunch of like-minded leftist radicals who were talking about things online, and then all of a sudden, 26 accounts. Watch out for Utah Valley today because trans is coming to take some scalps from the fascists. We're going to take the biggest scalp ever today. Boom, gets killed. Oh, coincidence, I'm sure. But here's where I'm getting into my point about Kash Patel and why he is actually unintentionally rupturing the normal facade that the FBI has of total control because he's trying to be so public. It's like, just listen to what he said. He's like, we're meticulously investigating theories and questions, including, quote, the location from where the shot was taken, the possibility of accomplices, the text message confession and related conversation Discord chats, the angle of the shot and bullet impact, how the weapon was transported, hand gestures observed as potential signals near Charlie at the time of the assassination, and visitors to the alleged shooter's residence in the hours and days leading up to September 10th, 2025. Now, again, I'm not saying he's doing anything wrong, because what he's doing right there is just directly telling you, we are going to investigate every one of these major conspiracy theories that's being shared online. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. I mean, you should respect that. That's what we asked for. That's exactly what we asked for. Transparency. And for them to be working with the mandate of the will of the people. Okay? We're crystal clear what we want. We want, look into that fucking guy. Look into that guy. We want that one. We want that one. Look into this person. And candidly, I would imagine that what we do is incredibly helpful to the FBI, to like the people who are going in and doing all these investigations, and they send it. It's like someone else is going to have to do that work otherwise at the FBI. You know, dude, online sleuths, we got all day, son. You know, but here you go. So he said, some details are known today while others are being pursued to ensure every possibility is considered. Our primary focus is to complete this investigation and deliver justice to protect the integrity of the investigation. So yada, yada, yada. Okay. But he also talks about the flight that people have been talking about. But again, the big takeaway for me is that they are not going to stop until they ring up anyone who knew about this in advance. And that's what I said from the very beginning. The most important thing is anyone who had foreknowledge needs to go to prison. And they need to get buried in prison. Okay? Like, there's a reason why when the Democrats had control, they gave the January 6th sentences that they did, right? The leader of the Proud Boys, he gets 22 years before his pardon. You know, the other guy is 16 or something like that. Another guy 14, whatever it was. Those are sentences that are usually reserved for people who have committed murder or like violent grape, you know, or in some cases, ridiculous drug laws that are based solely on like the weight of the substance that they got caught with, whatever. But either way, Enrique Torrio wasn't even there. Not only was he not there, In the same time, they leaked a bunch of BS stories about him being an FBI informant also to try to discredit him within his unit, within his movement. And then they threw a 22-year sentence on him. And what were the Proud Boys doing exactly that was different than Antifa? Like what were they doing? Antifa was in the streets actively attacking government buildings, government, like the law enforcement. They were going to war with the law enforcement officers in these cities. The Black Bloc with the Molotov cocktails. And somehow, no one was ever getting locked up from that organization. I wonder if that's because George Soros was funding their groups, maybe, And the Proud Boys were just like a natural, organic uprising of people who were watching what Antifa was doing. They're like, let's go kick these guys' fucking ass, Like the idea that the Proud Boys were some kind of domestic terror group is so stupid, okay? But again, now you're on the other side of that. So they made an example of those guys, right? And they made an example of all the January 6 people intentionally to scare people from getting involved in any of these little movements, right? And it worked. It worked. Okay, the Proud Boys was kind of like a goofy fraternity thing, but I don't know a lot of people who would feel very comfortable being like, yeah, I want to be a part of the Proud Boys now. You know what I mean? They got all of a sudden they're like a white supremacy group. Ridiculous. Just propaganda and horseshit. But the shoe's on the other foot now. Okay? Charlie Kirk got murdered. And a lot of these violent radicals knew about it. And so what are you going to do with them? Okay? The methodology still applies. You set an example, okay? Except in this case, they deserve it. Okay, it's not like they went and they thought they were doing a protest and then the fucking police entrapped them. They're all, come on in, guys. The lawmakers can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. Come on in. He got his channel demonetized, right? Now, I heard people talking about this. I'm going to actually do a live, like I'm recording this on Sunday evening. I'm going to do a live stream about this right now after this, but like, I heard people talking about Destiny getting demonetized, and they were kind of like, well, he didn't really say anything. He didn't break community guidelines on YouTube. And I was actually on board, just looking at it and trying my best to be a person that is, a principled person. I really try not to let my emotions get in the way of supporting or detracting against decisions like this, especially ones that could apply to me at some point. And I'm like, he didn't break community guidelines. I don't know how I feel about it, And someone smarter than me pointed out how do they decide which videos are going to be monetized and why do they demonetize the ones that they demonetize? And if you ask most people that, they'd be like, well, if you say certain words, if you talk about certain topics, it's like, right, but why? And the answer is simple. It's because advertisers don't want to be associated with those types of ideas. And you have 10 trillion fucking videos going on. That's an exaggeration. The amount of videos you have going up every day and going for monetization is completely unmanageable. There's no way any human team could do it. You have to automate it. And so you have to set parameters. And sometimes, you say this word, this or this, then they demonetize it, right? Well, Destiny went on, he very, very widely publicized, said, conservatives need to be scared of getting killed. And he said it in a way that, to any radical leftist who is listening is going to assume that he is supportive of this because that's exactly what he said pretty much. I don't think that's necessarily exactly what he meant or he was being slippery intentionally to not directly say that. But here's the thing. He got the press that he desired and now he's associated with those comments. So, of course, they're going to demonetize him. No advertisers want to be associated with that guy. That is the definition of fuck around and find out, because he has gotten away with this stuff with impunity forever. He says whatever he wants, never gets in trouble. Like the money keeps coming in. I guess he got whatever. He's gotten in trouble with Twitch and stuff, but not like a real hammer that came down on him. He's always been able to stream through it and be fine. But now the demonetization is the beginning of what's coming for him. I'm telling you that I will bet my life on that. But again, I will probably just done a large live stream about this by the time you guys are watching this. So we can just, go watch that. But, look, like now they're like, oh, Kash Patel reveals FBI is investigating hand gestures of people standing near Charlie Kirk before shooting. Okay, that's a problem, dude, right? This is what I'm saying. This is too much transparency. And the reason for that is because now people are going to assume that the hand gesture thing is worthy of genuine investigation versus people having just dug it up online. Now, if it ends up that they were giving signals to people, that's a completely different story. But what if it doesn't? Okay. What if there were no hand signals at all? Right? If you don't say anything about it, you go do the investigation, but you don't say anything about it publicly, you don't risk destroying these people's lives. Like, for all we know, the guy who was doing the hand signals was one of like Charlie's best friends. The last thing on earth that Charlie would want is for them to be under the microscope that they're now going to be under because Kash said this, publicly, right? He's like, there's no way those guys are involved. It's a fluke. Now, if they are involved, then that's fine. But there was no reason to announce it in advance till you knew. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. It's like, that's why the radical transparency is detrimental sometimes, Now, here is also the, like part of what I will probably make the headline, which is the Charlie Kirk didn't have an exit wound, and it's a miracle. That's weird to me, okay? This is really weird. I'll read it to you, and then we'll talk about why. Okay, so more details about circumstances of Charlie Kirk's death have come to light. Andrew Colvett, a spokesperson for Kirk's Turning Point USA, claims to have recently spoken with a doctor who treated Kirk's fatal injuries. Quote, I want to address some of the discussion about the lack of an exit wound with Charlie, Colvett wrote on X. I'm usually not interested in delving into most of this online chatter. I apologize for the somewhat graphic, but in this case, the fact that there was no exit wound is probably another miracle, and I want people to know. The conservative political activist was shot and killed earlier in September. You guys know that. I just spoke to the surgeon who worked on Charlie in the hospital. He said the bullet, quote, absolutely should have gone through, Colvett said on Saturday, noting the physician explained it's very normal for a gunshot wound. He told me, I've seen wounds from this caliber many times. They always just go through everything. This would have taken a moose or two down, but it didn't go through. Charlie's body stopped it. So it's an absolute miracle that someone else didn't get killed. His bone was so healthy and the density was so impressive that he's like the man of steel. It should have just gone through and through. It likely would have killed those standing behind him too. And they said that the coroner did find the bullet just beneath his skin. So, listen, I'm in no position to question the truth or of what they're saying. I have no reason to think that they're lying other than, having a half decent experience and understanding of projectile ballistics when it comes to rifle rounds. And a 30-06 not like hitting dude, there's nothing here, man. And I am really not trying to turn a tragic murder into a conversation about ballistics, but in this case, this is what dude, there's nothing here, man. There's nothing here. I'm going to say I can't believe it. I'm going to say it's impossible that a fully charged 30-06 round did not exit. You know what? That's how it could have happened. That's how it could have happened. The only way that this makes any sense, that a 30-06 round hit his neck and did not have an exit wound, is if the kid or the kid's family, wherever he got those rounds, that they were packing their own rounds. Like most people, I don't know about most people, but a lot of, the majority of people I have like gone shooting with, you go to the store, you buy ammunition, right? Comes out of the box, ready to go. You can see how like this is when it goes whatever feet per second. Okay. Tells you the weight of the bullet, all that. But there are other people who buy just the projectile part of the bullet, and then they pack their own, like powder into the primer, and then they make the bullet themselves. Okay. Now you can drastically affect how fast a bullet is going by how much powder that you put into the thing that's going to set the primer off. And so like if you put less powder, it'll go slower, right? It won't go as fast. So if that is not the case, if that's not what happened here, there's no way, dude. There's no fucking way, dude. A 30-06 from less than 200 yards. There's nothing here that can stop that. There's nothing there that can stop it. It's like, I'm not, think about it like this, dude. If you shot it in the air, Is the air going to make the bullet stop? You know, it's like if you held up a piece of paper, is that going to stop a 9mm round from going through it or any other? It's like, bottom line, there's not enough here to make that round stop that fast. It's just like impossible, you know? And I think that what we're going to see here is a lot of like ballistics channels are probably going to test this out, and it's going to be universal, dude. There's no 30-06 is stopping in that space. This is not going to happen. They'll get those ballistic dummies. They'll try this 1,000 times. It's going to rip through every single one of them. So it's weird. But again, I did give you guys, you know, a way that this is possible. But that's the only one I can think of. Now, let's close this out here with, you know, some new posts from paid off leftists that are intentionally misleading the public and everyone into this kid's background. Okay. So Brian Krasenstein is one of these, you know, X account hacks, very, very, very high reach. Like he gets, that is, you already know, without asking or even looking at his page, I could tell you what he's going to tweet about any topic ever, because he is not a human. Okay. Like he is just, all he is a message of like, what do you think Media Matters is calling? You know, Media Matters calls our people. They're all, this is what we're going with. That is all that this fucking guy is, dude. Okay. Now I had heard rumors about him being top of the list of money that was coming from some of these, you know, these organizations that pay people to say the things they want them to say, or, you know, start these trends of, oh, everyone's keying Teslas now and lighting Teslas on fire. All that dark, gross Soros or Democrat money. You know, like I had heard that this guy was one of the people who was heavily on the take. I can't verify that, but what I can verify is that I don't even need to look. I already know what he's going to say about anything. And of course, this is today, dude. Breaking. The federal investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassin has not found a link between the alleged shooter and left-wing groups. Okay, that's hilarious. And I'll show you exactly what they're quoting here. They're quoting this NBC News article. Okay, you want to know what this is? Fucking semantics, okay? No evidence found of ties to the left-wing youth. It's like, are you kidding me? No ties, huh? No ties aside from every single part of this story. Guy's got a trans boyfriend. He wrote, hey, fascist catch. All that's like, it's ridiculous. Of course he's left wing, but you can't tie him to a specific organization because those are like loosely organized whatever. And what I've always thought about this, again, is this is in like, you know, what do you call, is it an organization if you have a bunch of people who despise all the conservatives and, you know, talk about killing them all the time online, and then they end up in the same Discord group and they're like, yeah, we should, you know, kill these motherfuckers. Okay, is that an organization, or is that just a big group of radical, violent shithead leftists that are talking to each other and egging each other on? But the fact that they don't have a name for that particular group means it's not tied to left-wing organizations. You know, and like this is so intentionally misleading. No evidence found of ties between Charlie Kirk's shooting and left-wing groups. You know, really, because I heard there were ties to the Salt Lake City Queers or whatever. You know, fucking awesome names, dude. Listen, you really want to drum up fear in the conservatives. You know, the conservatives in my fucking neighborhood. It's like, all right, did you say the Salt Lake City Queers are after us? Jesus. Well, double up the body armor. I am scared. I am absolutely terrified. I'll be honest though, dude. Since this shit happened with Charlie Kirk, I'm looking both ways. Dude, I'd go nowhere without a piece. I mean, I always had a piece. But now it's like, I'm hard checking everywhere. I really am, dude. This shit has me spooked. Because you think about it, it's like, and I'm going to talk about this on my live stream, with people like Destiny and his people. It's like, you know what? I'm going to save this for my live stream. I'm going to do that right now. All right. I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. Bye-bye.